Hi everyone, I am Kilroy was here, and among many other video games, I've always been a huge fan of Pokemon. I didn't actually start it until Gen 4, and while I really love those games and Gen 5 and some of the other games in the series, in recent times, most of my love for Pokemon has come with the complexity of its battling system. As I'm sure many of you have known, Pokemon has a pretty thriving competitive community, and while I'm not a part of the ones that happen at the tournaments, such as VGC or stuff like that, I have spent a ton of time on Pokemon Showdown playing single player games. And really, it's just because Pokemon's competitive scene, its battle mechanics are extremely complex. There's so many Pokemon. There's the type advantages and type chart system is it's a whole diagram, and really the amount of individual battle mechanics that have been added and tweaked and modified through the years is just you could write a book on it, man. And that whole point is why I wanted to make this video, because while I still believe that's true, and honestly Pokemon could do nothing and I would still find great enjoyment playing on Showdown with the random teams for years just because of how complex the battle system already is, I have to say that the new additions Pokemon have made over the most recent years have not been the most interesting to me. So, Z moves I thought were an interesting concept. They're kind of like hidden power, but with the benefit of not needing to be a four times effective attack to kill anything. You could just pop out a Z move of a specific type on most of your offensive Pokemon to deal with defensive threats or otherwise bulky Pokemon that maybe you wouldn't be prepared for. And of course, Z moves also had the potential of being used with status moves where that could give you stat buffs or other unique effects. And I always thought that was very interesting. But right after that, Dynamax, I was never a huge fan of. On one side, because it always kind of felt like it was just redoing Z moves. A lot of the Dynamax moves, without having all of the abilities of Z moves, kind of copied what they were doing. You know, you just have extremely strong attacks and some moves that give you status buffs or other effects, you know? And outside of that, the double HP and extreme power of Dynamax Pokemon that let them immediately snowball out of control, I was never too big of a fan of. I appreciate Pokemon for allowing you to set up with certain Pokemon and use certain strategies to try and sweep through a team, but adding a mechanic just to make it possible for every Pokemon to do that very easily is, I wasn't always the biggest fan of it. And as many people had said when this kind of discourse was being talked about more, Dynamax was good at helping weaker Pokemon and Pokemon that didn't really have a lot of, staying power competitively become much better in a lot of matches. But the problem with that is that's not all it did. It also helped every Pokemon that was already in OU become like a monster offensively. And really, Sword and Shield competitive, while, it's still Pokemon, it's still fun for what it is, and I appreciate people at Smogon and on Showdown for their work in tiering and banning things and all of that. It wasn't the most interesting to me. It didn't really bring that much new in my mind. But that's where I'm coming in to talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Because this is the most excited I've been about a Pokemon game in since I can remember, really. Pokemon games, their individual quality being kind of to the side of this discussion, are always adding so much. And this is the first time where I've seen the mechanics they've discussed adding, and I thought to myself, man, this could completely change the way that Pokemon competitive scene is going to look. Now, I could talk about the items and the things that were shown in the competitive video that was released recently, like what you can see here. The Mirror Herb being an item that allows the holder to mirror an opponent's stat increases and boost its own stats, and Covert Cloak and Loaded Dice being revealed as well. And while I do think those are all very interesting items and some things I'd love to experiment with. They have kind of been talked about a lot already, and they're not really what I was thinking of in terms of like monumental changes to the scene. No. What I was thinking about in terms of monumental changes to Pokemon's competitive battle system is this right here. So, this is a tweet from CentraLeaks, a leaker on Pokemon who, it's a leaker. You can decide whether or not, of your own opinion, they're trustworthy or not. But I would say personally, given what has been shown already from the game, I have some reason to believe that they are trustworthy. And specifically, what I'm looking at on this page here is that third line there. Palmy, who is going to be kind of the Pikachu clone of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I believe, has an evolution which will learn a 1 PP move to revive one of your Pokemon. Now, this is not anything that has been seen in competitive Pokemon ever before. Unless you want to say, like, oh, you could always use revives to revive Pokemon in game. Okay, yeah, sure. But you can't use those items when you're in a competitive match. So, really, this idea of using a Pokemon to revive another Pokemon has never been available before. The most we've ever had have been things like Healing Wish and just Wish, which have been full heals to Pokemon or half heals, Wish's mechanics depending on your health. And they would require you to kill your own Pokemon to do so. Now, there are a lot of possibilities with this move. Again, believe what you want. This could very much just be a complete nonsense post. 1 PP move to revive your Pokemon sounds kind of like a pipe dream, I'm sure, to a lot of people. But even if this is not true, I think it's a valuable thing to talk about in terms of mechanics. So, what are the potential impacts of allowing a Pokemon on your team to revive another one? So, I think, for one, that really this might make Palmy's evolution kind of a universal Pokemon. It's like Ditto, where you can kind of throw it onto any team and you could find good use, except this is like 10 times more important than that. Even if your team has like no one standout Pokemon who you would want to use this with, just the idea that you could revive a Pokemon on your team mid battle is extreme in terms of what could come from it. A 1 PP move that revives one of your Pokemon, in if it's just as written, which, it doesn't really say anything, but I believe the only way something like this would be balanced would be if it would be incredibly difficult to pull off, in terms of maybe you require something from Palmy's evolution before it can use this move. Already 1 PP being there is clearly necessary because you being able to spam this would be ridiculous. And I think a lot of people, myself included, would believe that this kind of move would have to kill Palmy's evolution for it to be balanced at all. But I do think that for something like this to be balanced, it would have to have some other requirement of Palmy's evolution. If you could just send it in, give it a choice scarf, and its speed is not 0, and it has decent enough defenses, and it can get off this move, then that's a free revive. I'm sorry to Palmy's evolution beforehand that I'm talking about you as if you're just going to be used as someone to kill and then revive someone else on your team. I don't want to treat my Pokemon like that, man. I don't know about you. But for the purposes of what we're talking about here, that is kind of what I'm saying. I'm very sorry, man, that you've been given this lot by Game Freak to be a perma kill Pokemon to revive someone else. But I do believe that if you're just able to send Palmy's evolution in, click that 1 PP move, that revive move, and then get in your best sweeper or your best defensive mod revived after that, even if you're only reviving them on like 1 health or very low health, I think that would be a bit busted. Consider Toxapex, okay? Toxapex can be an extreme issue defensively for a lot of teams to deal with. In fact, in the current meta, I'd say your team almost has to build to deal with Toxapex with some ground type, electric type, something to get rid of it. Because if you're not kind of doing a shit ton of damage to Toxapex all at once, then, you can either have it stay in and recover off of you while you slowly die to your toxic spiked Pokemon or your scald burned or what have you, or you can just switch it out and then bring it back in with all of its regenerator health. And if you are already struggling to take down Toxapex, and once you have killed it, your opponent can now bring in their evolution of Palmy, use that move, and bring it back, even if you've only brought it back at 1 HP. Now you have to do everything you just did, all of your predictions, all of your smart play to take down this Toxapex all over again. And say that once you've taken down Toxapex, you take your Pokemon, say like a ground plate Landorus or SD Landorus or what have you. Say once you've taken down that Toxapex, your Landorus looks bad for the rest of the game competitively, and you decide to sack it. Well, now if you've sacked that Landorus, and this revive can come out from Palmy's evolution and bring back the Toxapex, well, now you're kind of shit out of luck in terms of dealing with this immense defensive threat. And I'm talking specifically about defensive threats right now. If you want to look at about the 5,000 setup sweepers in Pokemon that exist, let's say Volcarona, for example. Volcarona is another one of those Pokemon that you need to get down as soon as possible if you don't want to be quiver danced upon and then put into the dirt. And if you manage to take down a Volcarona only for it to come back later, maybe roost back up to full, and then quiver dance again, well, you better hope that you've saved enough of your defensive answers or offensive reverse killers to get back that thing back into the ground a second time. And really, that's why I think if this exists at all, this move to revive Pokemon, it will be absolutely meta defining. And if it's allowed to stay, which I would be very surprised if Smogon allowed it to stay, just because, Smogon, they ban stuff. If it's allowed to stay at all, it would kind of take over the competitive scene in my mind. And now, this is what my thoughts are if this is a move that works as we've always thought moves work. You can kind of bring it in and use a move. Now, there are certain moves in Pokemon that require a condition to be fulfilled before they can be used. They're usually not that great. I'm thinking of Belch, for example. Belch, you need to eat a berry to use it, and it's a strong move. I believe it's 120. It might be 140 base power poison special move, which is kind of the strongest poison special move we get for the most part. But requiring you to eat a berry before you can activate it kind of puts its worth down to like 0. But while I think a lot of those kind of conditional moves are pretty bad for the most part because the effect you get isn't even that great for them, you just get a strong poison type move for Belch. I think that a revive move would be the perfect one to require some kind of condition before it can be used. And what I'm thinking for Palmy's evolution here might be an HP requirement. So I think that one of the best ways to balance this move, this revival move, would be to only allow it to be used if Palmy is at a certain HP threshold. I don't want to say full because I feel like that might be too harsh. That would kind of just remove it from the game entirely if anyone sets up hazards and you don't have heavy duty boots, or if you're slower than your opponent and they manage to get a chip damage off, or even if priority works. But I think a high or at least decently strong HP threshold before being able to use this revive move would help balance it greatly. In addition to the fact that it's one use and it would kill you after using it. Now, this is a leak, and again, I'm kind of talking off of speculation and just my own thoughts on Pokemon's competitive scene, but I guess a lot of this video, other than to just give my thoughts and kind of give some of my understanding of Pokemon's competitive scene, is to just kind of say, how damn exciting this all is. I know that probably sounds kind of dumb, lame, whatever you want to say about it, but as someone who is very interested and has a lot of fun playing Pokemon competitively, and I've had friends who I've played played with before. I've been in draft leagues before, and those have always been a good time for me. Even if this tweet right here is just complete nonsense. From what I've seen for, say, the Pokemon's competitive video and all of the new stuff they have here, I gotta say, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet competitively have really piqued my interest. And these are games that, hey, Game Freak, we've had some struggles with you in the past. Right now, it looks like Game Freak has putting more thought into the competitive scene than they have in a while. And I gotta respect them for that. I gotta say thank you for looking out for your players who appreciate how great your battle systems are and how great your competitive scene is and how good it could be with some new and interesting takes on the scene. So yeah, guys, I just kind of wanted to make a video talking about this because I got all these thoughts going on, and once I saw that Palmy leak, man, my head fucking exploded. But yeah, let me know, guys, if you want to see any kind of videos about Pokemon or about Scarlet and Violet when we learn new things about them. Let me know if you'd be interested in hearing me talk at all. I know I haven't really posted anything on this channel before. I spend a lot of time watching stuff on YouTube. I got the Brave browser thanks to your boy Blunder. Gotta support, gotta be brave, gotta be a true member of the Pokemon League right here on YouTube. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought. Let me know if you want to hear any thoughts on things like this in the future. And hey, no matter what happens, anyone listening out there, if you're a Pokemon fan, I hope you enjoy what's coming with Scarlet and Violet. I hope I do too. I hope Game Freak has been turning over a new leaf, and hey, I've got high expectations.